Well, when the road trip began, we were hoping the Boston Bruins would go a little bit better than 500, but I think most people would say, hey, if you went 500, got 5 points out of a possible 10, it wouldn't be a bad trip, and that's exactly what happened. The Boston Bruins fall to the Edmonton Oilers 3-2 in overtime, a game that they had a 2-0 lead in, and we'll talk about what happened in giving up the lead. But again, they come through this road trip to the Pacific Northwest, the Canadian Northwest, with a 2-1 record after losing, not just losing, but getting pretty much bombed the first 2 games of the road trip as they lost in Winnipeg and Seattle. They end up going 2-0-1 in their last 3. Welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, a very late night brew, another late night brew. Razor, this is going to be the latest one we got to do, partner, for a long time, unless something crazy happens. We're sit down and record this post game. 12:30 a.m. to be exact when we start this one. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, proudly presented by Fazenda Coffee Roasters, the premier place to go if you're in the Boston area, or if you're anywhere around the country, you want to order from Fazenda. Go to fazendacoffee.com. They have got some of the best coffee around, light roast, medium roast, dark roast. The Fazenda Coffee people do it all. Whole bean ground. They've got the Morning Brew blend, the Morning Brew hats. Go check out fazendacoffee.com/morning brew. Again, Fazenda Coffee, the lead sponsor of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. All right, let's get to it, partner. Pretty good game for a while for the Boston Bruins in this one. They get out to a 2-0 lead. They give up a goal in the second period, a goal that I'll call marginal, the one that Jeremy Swayman allowed to Zach Hyman. And then they played a damn good third period until that guy, Connor McDavid, was able to get an opportunity, and there was a bit of a scramble type play to tie the game up. We'll get to the overtime goal in a moment too. But overall, I feel good. I'm not going to say great, but I feel good with what I saw in this one. Not great. There were a couple of little things here and there, but overall, take it, go, get off that road trip, especially after that awful start to it.
No question. Yeah, they played a real solid road game. I would 8 times out of 10 they win that game. The best player in the world had to make a play with a few minutes left to knot it up, and the second best player arguably had to get 3 assists to beat you. So it was a good game, that real solid, lots of good things that they're doing. I think their game is really rounding into form for the final second half of the season, which is really positive. And again, they found a way to persevere through this road trip, which is really hard, which is really shitty, which is really long. Talked to a few guys today. They're grinding. Can't believe how long it's been and how long it felt. And that's good to get points tonight and keep it 500. And then they got two more at home to focus on.
It's funny, a lot of the Western teams, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, but the Western teams are used to these 11, 12, 13-day trips. They seem to have 2 or 3 of them per year, or maybe 2, 3, 10-dayers, whatever. Regardless, the East Coast teams, they don't always have them. They're not used to it, like just given their geography, their situation. These can be hard too. It's where they're going, especially to finish the trip in Calgary and Edmonton. Pretty cold. The body feels different. It might be hockey weather, but it feels different. And I think it is it's a tough trip. There's no question about it. You go from the Central and then the Pacific and then the Mountain time zone, and it messes with your body. Us average people that aren't playing at all, you know what I mean? We're sitting around, we're tired after that, Razor, but the guys having to play and everything, dealing with that time change and all that different stuff, it's got to be tough. We know it's tough on the body. We've been there.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's again, it's a grind. That's why they talk about it, and that's why it's not made up.
Did you feel it all? And I didn't. I'll say, I never felt like they were scrambling and holding on for dear life in this game. There were chances for the Edmonton Oilers, but you have to expect that. I felt that was one of the most positive things. I felt that they were, when I say in control, doesn't mean they were dominating the game, but it was a good effort. It wasn't a lucky type effort. It wasn't, they were up 2-0 luckily. It was they earned it, and they had some great structure, and they had great third guy high, and they had excellent sticks for a while coming back and blocking shots. And I think that's the thing that I take the most out of this game is that they played a very good team in the Edmonton Oilers. Last year went to the Stanley Cup final only to lose in 7, but they weren't holding on for dear life. I mean, for a lot of this, they were really good.
They were, and I agree. The third period wasn't a hang-on session. It wasn't flip the puck out and hope. It wasn't Edmonton having 3 posts or 5 grade A chances that they missed nets or goalie had to make saves. It was pretty controlled. They felt watching like they were in control. It felt like they had a handle on the game plan and where they wanted to be out on the ice. They weren't running around and being scrambly. And again, that's where I say, 8 times out of 10, they win that game because of the structure they had, because of the way they played. And again, if they can play that way consistently, they're going to win more than they lose. There's no question.
They get off to a really good start in this game. Let's start taking you through the box score, so to speak. Elias Lindholm gets the goal, 107 in, his 5th goal. Elias is starting to get going. At least, hopefully, he has the goal the other night in Calgary. He scores again here. 5th goal of the season. Marchand and McAvoy with the assist. This play is kind of a microcosm of what the Bruins ended up doing well for a while, getting puck through neutral zone, getting it into the offensive zone. No, it's not secret sauce. It's exactly what we know that they need to do as a team. This team doesn't want to get into a trading chance type of game, a rush end-to-end type game. They want to get through the neutral zone, get it deep, use the back of the net. They do just that. Lindholm gets the puck on the left wing half wall or just below it and zips it towards the net. At first, we didn't see that it beat Stuart Skinner's short side. We thought it beat him cleanly. It turns out it ended up being Leon Draisaitl, his own teammate, Razor, who ends up just getting it off the shaft of his stick, and it doesn't have much room to beat Skinner, but it ends up beating him.
Yeah, perfect tip, perfect unlucky bounce for Stuart Skinner to start the game off. And again, I just because again, with the last coach, that play would have went back down. There would have been a cross ice play. I like the mentality the Bruins are starting to build, and they're starting to have guys in front of the net on a consistent basis with putting pucks to the net and causing some havoc. And that's another one of those examples. There was 2 of those goals against Calgary. There was a couple against Vancouver as well. So this is starting to be a consistent theme where they're getting ugly ones, and they weren't getting ugly ones earlier in the season. And if they continue this and continue to get more ugly ones, that will bode well later in the season.
Ugly is beautiful. 17:35 as we go through this first period. It's going to be a gorgeous play for Mark Kastelic, who back in his 4th line role for this game. He had been up for the previous 8 games on the right side. He had been up, since Montreal, I think, since December 1st, where he had been up around. And the last 4 in particular, if I remember correct, I beg your pardon, the last 4 he's been on the right side. The last 8 games he has 3 assists, but the last 4 he's been playing with Charlie Coyle's line as they look for some help up there. This was a power move. He's going to get the puck inside or in the offensive zone along the right side. He streams down the side. He turns pretty much at the half wall again, and he comes in, and Stetcher, the defenseman, ends up giving him room to get to the inside. He takes it to his backhand, drives in, and then beats Stuart Skinner with the backhand. It's the 4th goal of the season for Mark Kastelic. Beecher and Carlo with the assist. Carlo had started to play pretty much at his own, just inside the blue line, inside the Bruins blue line or so, just gets the puck, swats it out. But again, it's repetitive, but Mark Kastelic continues to do his job. I mean, he's hitting guys, he's winning faceoffs, he's making good stick plays, and here we saw his skill on display.
We did, and it was nice to see him get back on the scoreboard. He had such a hot start the first 10 games of the season, consistent every single night, doing his job every single night. But as a player, you want to get rewarded. You want a cookie every once in a while, and that's important for even those guys that play a little further down in the lineup. And I'm sure it felt great for him. He's a Western Canadian kid, so I'm sure he had family and people around, and to be able to do that on that stage with that play was great for him.
I did not like him at right wing with Coyle. I know why he was there, and he was helping out, and he was taking faceoffs and others, and the team needed him there. We talked in the pregame on Nesson. I like the look with him in the middle more. You brought up how it looks. The centers really get situated best there. I also think there's something about that center position that allows him. It's not freedom, because as a winger, actually, Razor, and you know this, you've got more freedom actually as a winger. But there's something about his game as a center that he seemed, and this is normal. He has the puck on his stick a little bit more, I think, and instead of just trying to go up and down, I feel like he's moving a bit more there.
Yeah, and I think to that point, like how it slots, I think Beecher's better on the wing. I think he's just not he does great job on faceoffs, but I think his game suits the wing better right now where he's at in his development. I think it's simpler for him out there. So he takes a few draws. Kastelic can take a few draws, but then he controls the middle of the ice and allows Beecher to go and get the puck. I think that makes both Beecher and Kastelic better when he's on the wing.
I'd agree. Shots in the first period, 11 for the Bruins, just 5 for the Edmonton Oilers. None in that first period for McDavid or Draisaitl. Their back pressure, their reload, the third guy high, all the hockey terms that we like to use were excellent in that period. Some big blocks too, by the way. Speaking of Beecher, he had a couple of nice blocks in the game, but 2-0 at the end of one. Second period goes pretty well too. I mean, you knew that Edmonton was going to be coming on strong. You had to, and the way they end up getting a goal though, and I think this is why it's a bummer, is that this wasn't from a high-flying Edmonton Oiler play. This is from the right wing side. Zach Hyman finds the puck on his stick. He's almost at the wall, almost touching the wall. And I almost feel like he doesn't so much shoot it as he just kind of flings it towards the net quickly off his stick. Swayman was not screened. Swayman may, out of the peripheral vision, you tell me better than me saying it, but maybe felt Connor McDavid coming in that peripheral vision side, but he's also, I guess, as you said, holding that left side, the post, but the puck ends up going 5-hole on him in a goal where you're like, it's the cliche, but you'd like to have that one back, at least in my non-goalie eyes.
Swayman, said afterwards he was worried about the pass option, McDavid coming to the front of the net, so he was a little focused on that. It was a weird turnover, quick turnover from
actually off Kastelic's stick. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, and through Zadorov, who was battling off there. So, and then Hyman scored 50 goals last year. He just has a nose for the net and has an ability to put pucks on net that cause goalies havoc. And that's what this one did. I'm sure Jeremy would have rather played it differently if he just squares up on that and recognizes that the D has McDavid in front of the net. Maybe recognizes the turnover a little bit quicker rather than being focused on where McDavid was on the ice a few different ways. But again, some of those go in. If it was the tying goal with 2 minutes left, I think you'd be a little more critical with it. I understand that every goal matters, but at that point, they still got out of the second period 2-1, and it was a bit of a different play. It wasn't a wrister down the wing.
Yeah. So I don't want to get off tangent too much here, off topic, but you know who's on the ice always. It's part of the goalie's job, right? You got to know, just like a skater, you know who's out there. How much does a player like McDavid? I'm going back to when you were playing, but and you can pick the ultimate superstar in your time that you played against. How much do they, and I don't mean get in your head like in a bad way, but make you think more when they're on the ice? Like Swayman admitting that he's thinking that the pass option's there because he knows that it's 97.
Oh, no, absolutely. Those guys always get your attention. You always know where David Pastrnak is or McDavid or Draisaitl, and that's why those guys end up getting more ice. That's why they end up scoring more goals, because they put pucks on net that most guys wouldn't, or they make plays that no one else makes, and not you're over focused, over analyzing it at certain times. Just like the opposite side, where guys talk about playing against Patrick Waugh and missing the net, or trying to be perfect with their shot when just a normal shot or a normal goalie's in there, they treat it differently and score goals easier. So it goes both ways. And yeah, no question. You have your you have your sights set on Draisaitl over on the left side. You have McDavid and his ability to really be everywhere all the time because he's so fast. And it does take some of your focus away at times of the play in front of you.
Who is the player? Can you think of one that, you always, for some, you know what I mean? You picked up that they were on the ice even more. That you can remember.
Ovi, Sid.
Yeah.
You start with those two guys. You go down the line. I mean, basically, almost every team has one. You go, Calgary didn't. Vancouver has Pettersson. They have Quinn Hughes. Seattle doesn't really. Winnipeg has Scheifele. So you can go through. Buffalo's going to have Tage Thompson. You're going to know where he is all the time. So,
but McDavid and Draisaitl carry different levels of.
And Ovi and Sid do. Yeah.
All right, so it's 2-1, like Razor said, at the end of 2. It was the 11-17 mark, Razor, that goal was scored. Shots just 6 for the Bruins in the second, 10 for the Oil. All right, then we get into the third period, and we talked in intermission about the importance of every play hard, every play smart, every play. There's no hope plays. We talked about making sure that everything, again, was deep. All the hockey, again, cliche 101 type stuff, but really against Edmonton, the biggest thing we said, do not sit back. If you sit back, they're going to get you on your heels. They're just going to, and they're going to turn and burn on you. They're one of the fastest teams in the National Hockey League. The Bruins did a great job early on for a lot of that period, Razor. The way that they were able to, again, utilize their sticks, utilize their bodies, made sure for the most part, I can't think of much badness in the first 15, 16 minutes. There were a couple chances, no doubt about it. You understand that's going to happen, but it wasn't like, oh God, you're holding on for dear life. They made some good plays until it ends up being the Connor McDavid goal at the 17:39 mark. Bruins get the puck out of their zone, up the right side, near their bench. And I mean, it ends up being an opportunity when they go back at the Bruins. The Bruins aren't hard. Would you say they weren't hard enough on the puck right there? I mean, it does bounce around. Who was it? It was Coyle.
Yeah,
and it was Pasternak. Thank you. Geez, yeah, I'm getting tired and late. But then they go back to the Edmonton right side, and Zadorov can't gap on McDavid because not many guys can, and he gets to the front, and the puck kind of pinballs in. Not a great change in my eyes. Not a great change, but still, it's the kind of play where you're like so close, but yet not enough.
Yeah, and they were out there for like a minute and a half. They'd iced it a couple times. Zadorov was out there a really long time, and Lowry jumped on because they needed to change. Pasternak's trying to change. So the Zadorov just can't gap there because he's trying to get off the ice. Like, he can't step up to the blue line. If he does, and that puck does go over the red line, then he's got even further to change. He's got to sit back, hoping that puck gets over the red line so then he can get off, because, again, he was out there so long. So a really, really tough. He's in a bad spot because of the way the play goes. And, again, it's 97. Most other guys, he might be able to get his big frame, his big stick on something. So, just a little unfortunate, and that puck bounces that way. That's what happens sometimes, and unfortunately, they didn't get that one extra break that they needed to come out of there with a regulation win.
Puck seemed to, if I'm remembering correctly, bounce kind of over Coyle's stick in that area, and he just couldn't get to it along. It was just off the wall, and if he gets it, again, we're playing the if game, he gets it down the ice. He gets it through, he clears the neutral zone, and everybody changes then. Yeah. Talk to me about the McDavid drive. We saw Kastelic do it on his backhand. McDavid's going to take it, and he works it eventually to his forehand, and it goes off the right knee, the inside part of the right leg of Swayman, who kind of turns a little bit right there. I don't know. I mean, were you okay with his set, the way that he played that one, partner? Yeah,
more than enough. Lowry crashed into him, which turned him around a little bit. McDavid can do a few things there. He can go wide. He can, and again, he gets bumped just enough, and it's just kind of unlucky that it ends up finding a hole.
Okay, 17:39 the goal. McDavid's 15th. Hyman and Draisaitl with the assist. So we head to overtime. The Bruins get the point, and everybody's feeling pretty good. And then they get into the overtime, and the Bruins have an opportunity. The puck gets dumped down. I don't remember exactly. It was less than a minute in. And there's going to be a change. Jeremy Swayman gets it, not dumped. Actually, it was sent all the way back to
Sent
Swayman.
it back. Yeah,
Pasternak sent it all the way back. Right. Sorry. And Pasternak's out there still. He stays. He goes from one side of this to the other. Swayman extends and plays, stretches, and he plays it all the way up to David Pasternak. Pasternak, though, is very tired in this play. Looking back, it's, I'm thinking you don't make that pass. Would you agree? Because it's not 1 against 1 there. It's 1 against numbers for Edmonton.
Yeah. Thinking about it, David could have changed because that's where he made the play along the boards. He goes all the way across away from the bench. So he certainly
from the left wing to the right wing side.
He must have been calling for it. He must have wanted it. Because if he had to just change, then of course Swayman just holds on to it. But the fact that David moved all the way across the ice and tried to get up the weak side, he wanted it. If David wants it, like Charlie McAvoy and everybody else, the last few overtimes, if David wants it, you give it to him. And that's what Swayman did. And he tried to get a backhand play off. And then that's when he was really exhausted. When David went and made another, went and made another offensive play. So I certainly hindsight, Swayman looks David off and tells him to go change, but that's easier said than done in the moment.
Yeah, especially because 3-on-3 creates that kind of open ice. We have more
a little
time.
bit more than you have.
A little more room.
And again, David is going to stay out there long. Like if it's 5-on-5 in a normal game, like he just changes there, right? It's right. The 3-on-3 is enticing to 88 as well.
Yeah. And we know he talked about it. We talked about it last morning, Brew, with Jaffe and Razor. He wanted to get off before Charlie gave it to Charlie. Basically, McAvoy force fed him the puck the other night in Calgary. Yeah. So maybe this is the opposite. Maybe he forced the puck to him this time. Maybe. Be interesting to talk about. All right. So what happens after that, Razor, is that eventually the Oil get the puck back after David is tired, and they go back on it's a 2-on-1. It's Nugent Hopkins coming up the ice with Draisaitl. Draisaitl moves to Hopkins. Hopkins gets an opportunity. The Bruins again, they are pursuing so hard because Pasternak's changing. Forget who else was changing, and their guys are racing back. Marchand's racing back. Lowry's coming. He's already back there. They actually end up getting on the back pressure 2 guys below the goal line. They over pursue because they are so intensely back checking, and that leaves the third guy, who happens to be the big left shot defenseman, Mattias Ekholm, wide open in front of the net. Puck caroms to him, and he hammers it into an empty net.
The Bruins did a pretty good job breaking up the 2-on-1. Lowry, they forced with the back check from Lindholm, real hard back check. They forced Draisaitl into a busted play where he just kind of chips it on net. Brad's coming back as well, extremely hard because he's coming off the bench, so he over pursues a little bit. I think Nugent Hopkins gets a piece of his stick as Brad skates by, and Hopkins can then feed it to the big Swede who pounds it in. On Lowry goes in behind the net. Marshy's in down below the goal line because he thinks he's going to get that puck, but he gets the little stick lift right at the end. So both guys over pursue, they overplay it, and unfortunately the third man buries it.
Wide open. I mean, and nothing, and no way for Swayman to get that one. So that's the final goal. It's Ekholm's 4th goal of the season. Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl with the assist. The big German Leon Draisaitl with 3 assists in this game. Hyman with 1 goal and 1 assist in this game. They bring it up. They bring it up in the third and in overtime when it matters most. All right, shots 8 in the third period, 9 for Edmonton. Overall in the game, 26 each shots on goal in the game. Just a couple of penalties in this game. Zadorov and Lowry take the penalties for the Bruins. McDavid took in the second period. He didn't like it at all. Nobody. Hey, don't sorry, Connor, you got to take a penalty once in a while. He was giving it to the ref, a tripping call, and then Nugent Hopkins also took it. So that was it. So the Bruins,
it was a clean game, really clean game.
It was
like
clean
it was a really, really well played hockey game all around. It was,
we were talking about this at one point. I don't remember. I jinxed it a bit early in the third period. I said, I can't we haven't had icings, maybe one or two early in the game. It felt like, I don't even know if there was one in the second period. And then you brought up the point, there were very few, if not hardly any offside in the game. So
no, it was great.
Teams were on it. And the one linesman after the first period, he was on it, working his ass off, going back and forth. Speaking of working ass, let's get a quick moment here to recognize our sponsors. Working their ass off is Graciano Construction, serving Boston, Greater Metro West area. Graciano Construction is the contractor you want to reach out to refresh, revitalize your space. They can and will do it all. GracianoConstruction.com, or call Doug Graciano at 508-330-7589. It's an easy call to Doug. You can discuss with him to whatever you're looking to do, get an estimate. He'll talk you through projects. I'm telling you, this guy is as nice as can be. First time I ever met him, by the way. First time he comes into the house, right away, first thing he does, Razor, takes off his shoes. And I'm like, that's no big deal to me, but to my wife, are you kidding me? It's the greatest thing in the world, the respect factor.
Must be Canadian.
Yeah, it's not. Well, listen, just say Calgary for me one more time. Speaking of Canadian.
Yeah, that's
Razor,
right. We'll get him to say Calgary and
Calgary,
see what happens.
yes, the Portuguese Canadian. All right, Graciano Construction. .com. And the other sponsor of this show is Sparks Hockey, the ultimate at-home skate sharpening unit that you can find. Over 100,000 Sparks are on the market. Razor. Spark of this game, was there one? Was there a Sparks moment in this one for you?
Do we go all the way back to the first goal? Like, I think Kastelic goal.
Okay.
I was gonna say the first, like, a minute 7 in, I'm like, all right, we're in this game. This is because you're thinking this is a tough one. This is a real tough one. And they get that first one. Okay, this is good, but no, you got to give it to Kastelic for that individual effort.
I think that was awesome. And how about a couple of Sparks blocks? Again, Beecher had a couple, he had a few nice ones. I mean, they provided sparks for this Bruins team. All right. And so we'll say those sparks. Go to sparkshockey.com, use the code
last minute holiday shopping, folks. Do not miss out. This is the ultimate gift for any hockey family.
I'm telling you, we absolutely, Razor and I, we are thrilled that they're a sponsor of this show, but even if they weren't, we'd be using this damn thing
to tell everybody anyways. Yes,
the time.
100%.
Couple of other things before we wrap up this one, partner. Oliver Wahlstrom, first game as a Boston Bruin, wearing number 71. We hadn't seen that for a couple of years. Last time we saw that was Taylor Hall wearing it. I'm curious as to, the decision to wear 71. Regardless, played just under 9 minutes. He had 15 shifts in the game. He had 2 shots. He had a good opportunity in the first period, a bit of called a spin play in the first period in front of the net. I liked, game one, but he didn't get a ton of ice time, but his determination, and I thought his recognition of, he hasn't played in the Bruins system before. And I'm not just talking we're in the Spoke B, but their defensive system is different than they play on the island. I thought he was good. I thought his stick was good. I thought he was very determined to do the right thing as much as possible. He was probably thinking a lot more than he was just playing, Razor. And so you say, okay, good start. It's probably going to take him a little while to get used to. And this is you come in on a long road trip, the end of the road trip. Now you're flying cross country back home to play a team that you're familiar with in Buffalo on Saturday, but still you're all over the place if you're Oliver Wahlstrom.
And then on top of it, your team gets up 2-0, which of course, they're not going to go to the new guy to play, and hold on to a lead at this point. They just want to get him a spot shift every once in a while. So, or it doesn't get away from you where you can get a bunch of minutes in free time. So there's no free time against the Oilers, even if you're up 5-0 in the first period. So he's an NHL hockey player, right? Like he's an NHL hockey player. You see that. And it'll be, the evaluation will take place a little bit longer, but a great start for him. And I'm sure good clips for the coaches to point out on things he did really well, which is a positive for a new guy.
Again, I was even more happy that I saw a couple of good physical elements and defensive type plays out of his game, if only because, that's what he's going to have to do more of that than he did with the Isles, and the goals then will come. The old defense, good defense will take care of creating offense. It also meant, though, that Tyler Johnson, they needed a spot. They had to take care of things, and the Bruins, cleared him for his unconditional release, waived him. It never, I was high on it. You can go back to the Bruins earlier in the season. I remember there were times, Razor, where I was saying, like, they could use him. They could use him a lot. He could be a difference maker for them. Not the panacea or the tonic that cures all, but they needed, I thought, somebody like him. And he had a couple of moments, but it never really took off for him. Why do you think?
That's a good question.
You think it was from maybe having to wait so long to get signed?
That's where I was going to go more. I think he's an older guy. I know Danton Heinen happened last year. He's just a different player. Danton Heinen doesn't need as much timing. He's a defensive guy. He can just be defensive. Danton Heinen could have and really found his way that way. Tyler Johnson doesn't kill penalties. Tyler Johnson needs to score goals to be noticed out on the ice, and timing's a huge factor on that. It just never gelled, never fit. And the length of time he didn't play to start the season, I'm sure affected him. He's older than Dan Heinen too, much older, more miles on the body.
34, 35 years old.
So that's just harder to ramp up when you miss a month and a half of the season as an older guy that needs to score goals. And that's why you see guys that age end up not in the league. So just wasn't a fit. I thought it might have been. I thought it might have worked. Unfortunately for Tyler, it didn't. And now you get the younger version, a younger offensive guy off waivers. It makes complete sense to go Wahlstrom rather than Johnson where they're at right now.
9 games for Tyler Johnson, just 2 assists for him, 13 minutes and 4 seconds his average. And I think, just 6 shots on goal in 9 games. Not bad. I mean, he had the puck on his stick just enough, but he was very nice to deal with. Curious to see if he gets another opportunity or not, whether he wants to or not, no idea. But Tyler Johnson now put on waivers for purpose of his unconditional release. That means that the Bruins are out of the contract and he is free to go wherever he wants to go. All right, last thing, Bruins spending the night in Edmonton. Too long of a flight home. You lose the 2 hours. It's a long day tomorrow. It's a long day. The loss will, I don't want to say sting, but it won't make the trip home feel as good. In theory, if there's no delays, teams should get home about 5:00. As you said, as we talked about, this is an extension of the road trip. The road trip does not end until after the game Saturday night. I know they get to sleep in their beds tomorrow night, but it's going to be a quick sleep. They get back at morning skate on Saturday. Saturday night after the Buffalo game, that's going to be when they're finally home and have a day to decompress on Sunday. This is going to be a difficult game. I don't care who the hell they're playing, Razor. I know they're playing one of the most dysfunctional teams going right now in the Buffalo Sabres, 0-8-3 in their last 11 as we sit and record this show. They're playing on Friday night. You said at home, right? Against the Toronto Maple Leafs at home. Okay. Yep. So they're playing back-to-backs. This is going to be a tough game for this Bruins squad.
Start's really tough. Buffalo's going to get the back-to-back start bump. They're going to be a little fresher out of the gates, you would expect. The Bruins, again, the 2-hour time change. They've been on mountain time for 7 days at this point. So their morning skates 2 hours earlier than the usual. Their games 2 hours earlier than usual. It'll be a true test how they get themselves ready for this game. It'll be work. Saturday's a work day. It's not a lot of fun, and finding a way to get yourself ready, a couple extra fazendas, whatever, it's one of those kind of nights where you really have to do a lot to get yourself ready and for puck drop. Because if you do get a lead against this Buffalo team, they're ready to fold the tent. So start will be really, really important Saturday night for a few reasons.
Yeah, it might not end up being the prettiest game, but figure out a way to get the 2 points. I'm not going to call it a must-win like I called other games on this road trip, but you know what? Figure out a way to get it done. Then you got a day to relax, get your breath, and then you got one more tough game. You got a really tough game against Washington before the 3-day shutdown in the NHL, and everybody gets a holiday break. All right, that's going to wrap up this Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. RC, thanks, buddy, for staying away. RC, RC was getting a tat again today. I reached out to him. And getting a huge, I don't know how the hell that thing didn't hurt like shit, RC, where you're getting it tatted on that leg of yours. But I'm looking forward. I got to find out as well. if that's the full tat or if he's got to go back for more. Like, was he able to get it all done or not? One day we're bringing
Never
RC.
done.
We're
You're
bringing
never
it
done
from
with those.
behind the screen to the front, and hopefully that went well. RC, thanks for staying up, partner, and helping us get this
absolutely,
done.
RC, you're the best.
And everybody, listen, Boston Bruins. Oh, by the way, we will not be doing a show after Buffalo. We are not working on post-game Saturday night. We will be back with you with one more Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor after the Washington game before the 3-day holiday break of the National Hockey League. All right, Boston Bruins losing overtime to the Edmonton Oilers, but they finished the road trip 2-0-1 in their last 3 after starting 0-2. Razor and I will talk to you after the Washington game. In the meantime, go ahead and enjoy that extra cup of coffee.